Welcome to Experience Oldsmar Podcast. I'm your host, Oldsmar Mayor Dan Saracki, broadcasting live from the top of the bay in beautiful downtown Oldsmar. I'm excited about our podcast today. With 20 years of public service, my guest today is Pinellas County Commissioner Dave Eckerts. These services began as a Dunedin City Commissioner during his tenure with Dunedin as he started the Youth Advisory Council, the Social Services Committee, and Public Safety Committee. With this tenure on the County Commissioner, he continues to focus on transparency, fiscal responsibility, and other important initiatives, which we will discuss today. Thank you for joining us, Dave Eckerts.
Great to be here, Dan. Always nice coming to Oldsmar, whether for whatever, an event or something in the chambers or a podcast. So it's always good to be here at the top of the bay. I love that.
I love
wonderful.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful day out today.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Gorgeous.
We live in heaven.
Yeah, we do.
All right, well, let's get started. I've got a couple questions for you. I understand you were born in the gateway to the West, and I've never been there, St. Louis, Missouri.
I was. In fact, I lived there all of 6 months and became an avid Cardinal fan for the first 15, 20 years of my life. And then I moved around and took up different teams. But yeah, so I stayed there 6 months and moved south into South America.
So Cardinal baseball or football?
Cardinal baseball.
Oh, okay.
If you're in St. Louis, it's about baseball. Yeah, always about baseball.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So what was it like growing up as a child? I guess you're from a foreign country or grew up in
I grew up there. Yeah, my dad was in construction, so he would take us, about 6 months before a move, he would say, well, what do you think about Peru, as I got older? And I'd say, oh, no, that means we're traveling again. But I started as a 6-month-old child down in Peru and grew up there through my elementary school, and had a couple years in California, and then moved to Guatemala for another stint, and then my family moved again to Peru. So it's always been about Latin America and culture and language that is just wonderful. So it's been a great way to grow up.
So how old were you when you came back to the States?
Many different times I came back to the States. So the first time I was probably in 5th grade. The second time I went to high school in Virginia when my parents were overseas. So, it's just been a different kind of lifestyle, but it's been wonderful.
I had no idea. That's wonderful that you shared that with us. Are there any traditions from those countries that you might miss that you think about?
Food. Some of the foods are great. There's a couple restaurants in the area that do Peruvian cuisine, for instance, and it's nice to every once in a while go taste some of that. The language is just amazing. I love the language. I did a interview with, I think it was Channel 9. This was probably when I was mayor. And we got through the whole interview, and I said, that went really well. And she says, well, I understand you speak Spanish. Can we do the whole interview in Spanish? And that's what I did. I went, what? Okay, now I'm really going to test my Spanish. And so I never did see the finished product, but I'm sure they edited out a lot of stuff. I did a trip to Honduras with my church and realized I really needed help. So I went back to St. Pete College and took a couple classes in Spanish and just to brush up a little bit. So it's a great language, and we should all understand a little bit. We have a lot of our folks from the South that are coming here and in a good way. And so it's good to know that language.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast that baseball is your passion. Mm-hmm. Tell us all about it.
Oh, gosh. Whether it was following Cardinal baseball with my dad. So it was the first thing we got to watch together, which was just, great. Playing Little League when I was, that 2 years we came back from Peru before Guatemala, I got to play Little League and just loved that. And in high school, I got to play it a lot and did really well. And played it. I made the team in college my first year, but I couldn't balance all the schoolwork, the partying, and baseball. So I had to give up one of them. So it became baseball. I knew my career was not going to go too far, but I've enjoyed baseball my whole life. We watch it every night, so it's just great. And I've coached Little League in Dunedin probably for 10 years and took a couple World Series teams, me and another guy, and won the World Series 1 year. And so it's just wonderful experiences, and it's a great game and a good way to be around kids. So,
Really,
Yeah.
very interesting. I remember I went to the first time I met Governor DeSantis. He was in Dunedin for his reunion with his baseball team. Were you ever involved in any of that, or were you?
Well, he was actually, I could only coach the big fields, which are 13 years and up. And when I was coaching, he was in the smaller fields. He was coming through the system. So I got to, be around when he was coming through Little League. And then one summer he was, when these kids, they play multiple teams during the summer, and he was on one of the teams that I coached, but didn't see him very much. In fact, most of those kids were so good that they probably could coach me. But it was fun, and just having that young man do what he's done and be the pride of a city. It's pretty neat. It's pretty cool to have that. And his parents are just amazing people. So
Yeah, I've met his parents. They were very nice.
Yeah, great people.
And I remember that ceremony that he was there to meet with his team. That I guess they won the championship.
Yeah.
Everybody was there.
Yeah, it was packed.
All the family was there. You were there.
Yeah, I was there. It was the 1991 team. They actually went to the Little League World Series that year, and they didn't win it, but just getting there was amazing. And that little reunion they probably had a half a dozen players came back, but it was packed. And he just pulls up and walks right out there on the field, and it was just great. The kids running around. They're his kids and his wife. It's beautiful.
It was a hot
wonderful
day.
lady. Yeah, it was hot. Yeah,
They were out on the field, and it looked like they were hot.
Yeah. But nice. It's nice having him. And every time he comes back, he always connects with some level of baseball. So it's really cool for the kids.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about education. I guess you went to Duke University. What was your major?
Civil engineering.
Wonderful.
So I was. I have to make sure I tell people this. I was only educated as a civil engineer. I never was a practicing civil engineer. The guys in college always told me, if you do, let us know which bridges you design so we can stay off of them. So it was always kind of fun to have that repartee with the folks. But I enjoyed the discipline that you learn, and I've used it in my business career all the time. And I use it. I even use some of those things that you learn in the job of public servants. So it's kind of neat to be able to connect with the contractors, the construction company owners on issues that they have. And so I connect that way through my civil engineering. So it's been a great tool, but great educational opportunity.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, I remember growing up, Duke University always had a very good basketball team. Were you involved in it or go to any of the games?
If I was involved in that team, it would not have been a great team. My involvement was from the cheering standpoint. And yes, they've always had great basketball, and to this day they still do. So yeah, I'm an avid fan of that as well. So.
Yeah, I forgot what his name was, Chris something, but he was a great player for Duke University years ago.
Yeah.
They won the championship.
Yeah. There's quite a few of them that came through that did great.
Why did you choose to run to serve on the Dunedin City Council, and what year was that?
Well, it was 2003, and I had just been made vice chair at the Chamber of Commerce, and they said, well, we need you to go to, when you're vice chair, you get 2-year stints. So I thought they said, we need you to go to the next 2 years of meetings, just to be our, to eyes and ears. Well, they really had said the next 2 meetings. So I went for the next 2 years because I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing, and learned about the business. I went through the budgeting process by being there and attending. And that was great, but I didn't have any interest in running for office. And the business community approached me and said, we need somebody with that background on the commission. Would you be interested in running? And I thought, okay. So that's how I got into it. I kind of backed into it. Just loved the opportunity to help residents with a sometimes cumbersome government, but also very proud of setting policy for government to be more efficient and effective. So it's good for our residents. So it kind of works both ways.
Great.
I've enjoyed every bit of it.
So as council member, how many years were you there?
6 years as council member, and about 5 years. The second term as mayor, halfway through the term, I ran for county commission. So I was there about 11 years.
You ran for mayor in what year?
09
09.
and 12. So in 12, we turned from 3-year terms to 4-year terms. Mm-hmm. So it was 2 years into that 4-year term when I
So what did you? How did you change it from 3 to 4? Because that's the city of Oldsmar. I wish we would do that. We're
Yeah.
3-year terms, and then what made you decide to change it to 4?
Well, it's one of those things where I'm always looking for ways to save a little bit of money. And in 07, 08, we started thinking about, well, it'll save us $65,000 a year in election costs if we go on cycle in November. So we were in March on every 3 years, and it was just more expensive. And at the same time, it seemed to happen about the same time that, that we had that crash in 08, 09 timeframe. So it just kind of fell together, and it worked out really well. Some people were concerned that we'd kind of get lost in the shuffle, but it's worked out beautifully. The only problem is when you're knocking on doors. I'm not knocking on doors in January and February anymore. You're knocking on doors in June and July. So it's a lot. And I thought, now who did this? Who made this change?
Yeah.
So it's a little warmer when you have to work that hard in the summertime, but it's been great. It was the right move.
I agree. It definitely would save money, number one. And plus, being an elected official, and I got involved in 2009, I noticed that the 3-year term is too short because there's so much educational opportunities that you have to learn to what's going on in the city, that the 4-year term is actually a better, and a lot of municipalities around the state are going away from 2-year, 3-year to 4-year terms.
So I think 4-year terms are good, and I think term limits are good. So you all already have the term limits. So,
and you said, how long did you serve as mayor?
It was 3-year term and then 2 years, so 5 years.
5 years, very good. Yeah. So then you decided to run for county commissioner in 2012.
Actually decided in about 2013. The term actually began in 2014 in November. So, that was a year that. The county commissioner Susan Latvala decided to step down. So an opportunity existed. That's why I'm a fan of term limits, because it's hard to unseat incumbents unless there's an issue that kind of elevates itself, So it just worked out perfectly well.
So you're in District 4. And what are the specific regions that you cover? I know Oldsmar is.
Yeah, right. It's kind of we just changed the kind of the southern edge of it, so it kind of evened it out a little bit. I used to have Clearwater Beach, which is kind of ironic, and I didn't have parts of Countryside. So now I have Countryside and Safety Harbor and northern tip of Clearwater, and then Dunedin to the north. So I have all the Palm Harbor, East Lake, Tarpon Springs. Yeah, those are the main ones. So so it's all North County. It's about 250,000 residents. Each of the 4 districts represent about a quarter of the district of the county. So, and then we have 3 at large. So I'm on the very northern quarter of that's the district that the constituents that I represent. But we do work all over the county.
Well, I know for really appreciate what you've done for the city of Oldsmar. You're very involved with our Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. As yesterday, you were at the luncheon. You spoke to a large crowd. You've always come to events, our parades, and you're always really involved in the city of Oldsmar. And I just want you to know that as mayor, I'm very thankful for that. And I know I speak for the city council. We're very thankful for all you do for our city. Yeah. We are grateful that.
It's a neat town. It's such that hometown feel that you get, and the commitment to a lot of your recreation and open space. And the other element that is very unique, I think, to Oldsmar is the large business sector that you have here, the manufacturing industry. So when you're in Dunedin, for instance, 95% of that city is residential. When you come over to Oldsmar, it's almost like 70%. You have so much business here, and I think that's great for the city. It's obviously great for the county and great for the region, but great for the city too. So it's just a great mix of residential and business here.
And we're still growing.
Yeah,
more businesses move here every day.
There's a magic formula that works for businesses, so it's great.
Yeah, I do love the Dunedin downtown, and I'm hoping that future is in our future for the city. I love that little walkable downtown you have. And
it's interesting because I'm kind of working a little bit on the downtown Palm Harbor area. And when we started with Dunedin, it was like, you're not going to be St. Petersburg, just be Dunedin. And so you just worked on one block at a time, and eventually it became what it did. So I'd say the same thing to Palm Harbor. You can't be Dunedin. There's no reason to be Dunedin. Be Palm Harbor. And you guys have such a track record here of just beauty and wonder, and it just be Oldsmar, downtown Oldsmar, and it can make its own special, mark. And,
it really is. Our bike trails and, like you said, our parks. It's very a unique place.
Yeah, it's great. So you'll find the way in terms of getting a couple of those developments and some retail activity and more businesses like that kind of give a little synergy and excitement to coming downtown.
I agree. Yeah, we got a coffee shop I'm going to be opening pretty soon, I guess, in our little downtown area. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Pinellas County. Since being elected to the county commission, what initiatives have you generated for the communities you serve? And you brought a little bit of this up yesterday at the luncheon.
Yeah. I'd like to think that I had a hand in a lot of the things that go on, a lot of the decisions that we make. I think a couple of things that stood out to me when I was thinking about that. One is that we brought the Purple Heart County. We created Purple Heart County. It wasn't that way before, and that to me was very important as a way to kind of put focus on our veterans. Veterans make up about 10% of our population in Pinellas County, and we can't do enough to recognize the significance and importance of that. So that was one of those things that really kind of, I feel like I've left a mark, and I thought it was important. Having, a good representation on our Tourist Development Council is really important. So we have, right now the mayor of Dunedin is on there, but we also have a business, Innisbrook is now on there. And we didn't have Innisbrook on there before. Mm-hmm. And so I felt it was tilted a little bit more to South County and Mid County, and we needed some representation. So to me, that was an important piece of trying to bring that voice, because you guys have made great strides yourself in your bicycle course over here that's international, and
BMX.
Yeah,
yes.
Your BMX club, and that's kind of a big deal as far as bringing tourists here and bed taxes and all that good stuff. So Oldsmar's doing its piece, and certainly Innisbrook was. So we just wanted to make sure that we had a little bit more voice on that. So that was an element that was important. I mean, there's several other things, but those things kind of, we have what we call I call it city manager light. Like you have a city manager that runs your city. Mm-hmm. I felt it was important for North County, that has about 20,000 unincorporated residents, kind of in between these 5 cities that are up in North County, that they have somebody that kind of runs the show on a micro level, so that they can work with all the other departments at the county, kind of cross over, and also work with the different cities as a liaison if needed. And so I pushed that real hard, and so we ended up getting 3 of those. One for Mid-County, which is around Lalman, and I always joke with Commissioner Justice, I call him Mayor Justice, because Lalman is his kind of baby. But we had one there, one for South County, and then one for North County, and that was something that I pushed hard. I know he pushed hard on it too, but the previous county administrator had no interest in it, and the new one came in and said, well, it just makes total sense. So those kind of things are important, and I felt that kind of if you want to call it initiatives, but it's always a team effort when we get things done.
That's great.
Yeah.
You touched a little bit yesterday at the MPO. They're talking about Pinellas County.
Some regional efforts.
There's some trouble over in Hillsborough with the current HART system, and we've got PSTA, and then we've got Pasco. What do you think of that MPO for the whole region as far as transportation goes? You think it's going to help?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. I think that we have to look regionally at different levels and different avenues. And one of them is just to kind of get a picture of how we can do things better working together. Mm-hmm. We figured it out with Tampa Bay Water. So we have a regional effort with that. It brings water to 2 million residents in Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough County. There's 9 members on there, 3 from each county. It works out beautifully. It doesn't mean it's perfect. We have bumps in the road, but it works really well. The state has expressed interest in us uniting as a single MPO for the region. We support that here locally. The local MPO does. And it's going to be mixed. The mix is going to be more by population. So Hillsborough will have a little bit more, but between Pasco and Pinellas we'll have more than Hillsborough. So there'll be a nice check and balance system. But as the district secretary said, a rising tide, boats all rise, right? So I'm not sure what that saying is, but it helps everybody economically. And we'll get more money to the area to dole out if we do that. A couple of years ago, they asked us, they challenged us to one project in your region that you all can get behind. So I made the motion in Pinellas County and the MPO here that the number one project be State Road 60 I-275 interchange. It's not in Pinellas, but it helped all of us. And it took about 6 months to get all the governments on board. And about 6 months after that, we got the $1.2 billion for that interchange. It didn't go to South State. It didn't go to the East Coast. It went to this Tampa Bay area. So I think that kind of woke us up a little bit to, we got to figure out a way to do that. So I kind of look at it like an inverted pyramid. We got to get all the money we can in this region, and then we got to figure out how to disperse it locally. I mean, we can't lose that touch either. So we're working on some things. We're going to work on that parallel path kind of thing for the next 2-3 years to see if we can bring it about. But I think it's going to be a really important aspect to bringing more attention. I said this the other day, but an economist said once that this region is probably a super region in the country. Businesses know how to, they don't care about property or county lines. Schools don't care about them. The government seem to care about them. And he said, if the governments can ever get their act together, this could be one of the premier regions in the country. So I think there was something to that. And I think so next month, first time ever, we're going to have a summit between Pasco County, Pinellas County, and Hillsborough County at the airport. We're going to have probably 2 hours of dialogue on probably 4 to 6 issues.
First time ever?
First time ever.
Wow.
It's amazing. We've been trying to do it for 3 or 4 years, and it just happened this year. We had changes in commission in Hillsborough County, a little change in ours. But anyway, bringing it together this year, I'm really excited about that, to see not only what we do to kind of break the ice in that first meeting, but how we lay a platform and a portal to future meetings. Again, we have a lot of work to do in our own counties, but there's a time and a place to take a look at the bigger picture. And I think this will be some good opportunity.
It's a perfect example. Communication to whoever. It's so important, that communication, to start bringing, even if you like you said, it's the first one ever, you're just starting to bring that communication together. That's the key. Yeah,
we've worked on boards. Part of a commission works on the Tampa Bay water. Part of a commission works on MPO. We get to interact a little bit, but never as boards have we ever gotten together. So this will be kind of nice and unique, and hopefully something we do in the future.
I'm looking forward to listening to that or watching listening to the minutes. Yeah. All right, we're going to move on to you as mayor. Mm-hmm. You mentioned it yesterday a little bit. What do you like, mayor or county commissioner? What's better?
It's so funny that people ask that. The mayor, I was a little tyke walking around my little town in Barberville, Kentucky with my grandfather, who was the mayor of this small little town. And he knew everybody. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, right? So, I always thought, well, as mayor, you're going to know everybody. It's so funny, though. You can go into any meeting anywhere and you look around the room and there's people you don't know. It's like, how is that? But a town of 35,000 people, you're no way you're going to get to know everybody. I loved being the mayor of the town, whether it was interacting with kids in school or interacting with the kids on the Little League fields or the folks that do all the arts and culture in the community. It was a great opportunity to be the official representative. As you know, we don't run the city, but it's neat to be that official representative. The county provides a different dimension and depth of issues that you get to deal with that you don't get to do as much of. Now, like I said, Oldsmar's a little unique. You do have some economic development because you have such a big business sector. We don't do too much of it in the other cities. There's some, but not a lot. The county, you do. In the county, you get into social services. The county, you get into a lot of regional issues. And so there's a lot more breadth and depth of issues, and I felt that I had gotten ready for that challenge. And so that was kind of the nexus to county government.
Perfect.
But loved them both.
Yeah, so. You're right about the mayor thing. It's funny, we had a block party at my homeowners association, and people come up to me, I want your picture. It's just so
it is funny.
It's like they're just normal people, and they think you're,
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to have that opportunity.
Yeah, and you can't go anywhere. You go to Publix or Super Walmart, they all know you.
No, and in cities, you're a lot closer, where you go anywhere. When you get to the county government, you're a little bit more removed. I don't hear it as much and as often, So it's kind of special when you're at local county government. But I want to say one thing, because I've heard this said that, you're a professional politician when you're a city commissioner and a mayor, and I totally disagree with that, because people that are doing that are doing it on their extra time. Most of them have jobs. Yep. Most of them have careers. They're raising a family. They're doing all kinds of things, and they're taking their little bit of time to give back to their community. So I don't consider the time when I was in city government in Dunedin as professional politician. I do think it's a little different when you get into county government. Mm-hmm. But at the city level, the people that run and serve their city are just amazing folks. They do great work and spend a lot of time and energy and effort. People don't realize how much that is. So thank you for your service.
Yeah, it's very true. Thank you for bringing that up. That's really is important. It's it's nonstop.
Yeah, it's nonstop. It's all about the love that you have for the city.
It really is.
Because it's not a cerebral thing. It's like, I love this city, so I'm going to figure out how I can give back.
And make it better.
Yeah, exactly.
For the next generation.
Yep,
exactly. Thanks for sharing that, Dave. So you're a big advocate for veterans across our country. Can you tell us how you support those who have served our country?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, and started in Dunedin when I was the mayor there, and a man named Danny Souter. We were at a Memorial Day event, and he came over to me after the event and said, can I talk to you about something really important? I'd love for our city to be the first Purple Heart city in America. And I said, let's sit down. And about 2 hours later, we got up and said, you take care of your end of it, and get the Purple Heart people behind it, and I'll take care of my end of it. And we made it happen. So Dunedin became what we thought then was the first Purple Heart city in America. We found out later there's this little town up in, I think it's Wisconsin somewhere. It was actually the first Purple Heart city. But besides that one, we were the first Purple Heart city in the country. But it was really about an opportunity to give recognition. We have a Purple Heart event every year. And in the center of our downtown, we have a Defending Freedom sign that we put up. And it's a permanent sign. And we have a little opportunity down below for returning veterans. So when they come back from duty, we put their name up at the center of town. When they come back for the last time, at least when I was there, I assume they keep doing it, but we give them the banner that we put up there every time they come back. We give it to them at a ceremony at City Hall to say thank you for your service. To me, that's been the most important thing that we could possibly do. And then, of course, doing the county commission action on Purple Heart was also important. And attending events. They had a welcome back, welcome home to the Vietnam veterans in downtown Dunedin. It was Empath Health and the local veteran, VFW, put it on. It was packed in downtown. Being there and attending and showing the importance of that is what I try to do all the time. But those people, they were backed up not a mile long, but a long line to get their little pin, a lapel pin that said welcome home, that had been circulating for a long time. Many of them didn't have it.
Oh, wow.
And so they were standing. I said, so we need to continue doing this until there's no more line. Mm-hmm. So every year. And then I said, when we don't have a line, we just still do it anyway, because the veterans from Vietnam were treated so badly when they came home. So it was really a neat event. So attending events, attending your VFW and your Legion is all important stuff. So yeah, always put those folks up there first.
I found out personally about my great uncle. He was a Purple Heart recipient. I had no idea. I just found out last year at Memorial Day, right before, from the VFW with their help.
Yeah,
I'm a member now of VFW and the American Legion, and I love sponsoring and helping them, with their fish fries or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is.
It's great. It's just the people in there are just, I don't know how to explain it. They're just a culture of people who just love veterans and believe in our country.
Yeah, and there's one of those issues in the county that we're really focusing on is mental health, and coming up with a system that allows people to plug in for help. And so that's just about fully vetted, fully developed, and should be coming online later this year. But it'll give opportunities for veterans who are still suicide rates of 22 a day in this country, to plug in, to have a dialogue virtually, to talk to how do we get you some help? Is it an emergency, or is it something that we can set up an appointment with you? And we have all of these folks that are in that industry waiting for the call from this portal that we're going to provide. It's going to be state of the art, unique in this country. I'm excited to see how it unfolds. But it's really important part because we have our some of our kids in high school, they're having issues, and we have too many. One suicide is too many, but we have suicides at that level as well. But different parts of our life and different parts of our community experiences those difficulties. So it's nice to be able to do that, especially for our veterans.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing all that. I got one more question. Yesterday, you touched on some of the larger issues in Pinellas County that we face today. Can you just briefly talk about that extension? You brought it up yesterday on the US 19 North. They're gonna expand that.
Yeah. Well, and somebody was, I think, tried to give me credit for it yesterday. But again, I think that's a teamwork effort. I would say if there's anybody that should deserve credit, it's probably Commissioner Seal, who's no longer on the commission, who decades ago, when she first got on there, started that idea that we needed to allow people to go from Dunedin to Clearwater in less than half an hour, because it was like that's how bad 19 was. And so they started that overpass at the key intersections. And so starting this month, I think, as officially began a 2-year process, 2.5 years of building the next overpass at Curlew. And it's going to involve frontage roads from 580 all the way up to Curlew and just beyond Curlew. And then the last one will probably be at Tampa Road, and that's probably maybe 5 to 10 years out. Mm-hmm. I don't know that there'll be one in Tarpon Springs. The city doesn't seem to want it. It seems to be a pretty busy intersection if you've ever traveled up there.
It is.
It's very backed up, and I don't know that you can make enough lanes or deep enough turn lanes to accommodate it. So. But I think between Tampa Road and Tarpon Springs, there'll probably be some other interchange improvements, but no more overpasses. But that's starting. That big project starts soon. So we're going to be construction weary after 2.5, 3 years.
Well, it's kind of funny because at the luncheon yesterday, when you were talking about it, when I got back to my desk, I got an email from Pinellas County about the expansion.
Yeah. Kim in my office, she's been with me for 8 years. She's my executive assistant. We got that information from
She's amazing.
FDOT, and so she sends it out to a growing list of people and partners like you and the commissioners and from all over, and lets people know firsthand what's going on. So I just applaud her for all the work that she does.
I sent her a thank you.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Because I told her, I said, I love this stuff that you sent me. I said, thank you so much.
Yeah. It's just, you don't know, there's so much information that's, that we just like to bring it down in for a landing so it's easy to grasp and it's not too much and not too overwhelmed and not throw it away.
You're lucky to have her.
She's amazing. Yeah, she is.
So what other item? Yeah. One last item you'd like to talk about? Anything else going on in our county that we should know?
Yeah, I would say that we need to think long and hard about housing and how that connects with economic development, how that connects with recruitment of companies and higher salaries and more salaries. They're all interconnected, and you couple that with a way to move people around our county. Those are all integrated. It is really, really expensive. Apartments are running at about 95% occupancy right now, so that just drives prices up. Homes are still pretty hot, pretty high, so it's hard for first-time buyers. First-time buyers that are 25 to 30, they can't find a place. And when they do find a place, they're competing with cash offers. And if you're 25 to 30, you don't have the cash offer. You're doing the regular, a mortgage, I got to get approved by them, and then along comes a cash offer. So it's difficult to buy a home. It's difficult to rent a place. And yet the apartment buildings all along 19 they're not a quote unquote attainable housing. They're regular market and they're filled. So we needed it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and there's more and more that's being built. But I'd say the housing issue, trying to come to grips with that, and understanding what the NIMBY factor that we all have about not in my backyard is really important to think through, because we all think we need it, but just don't build it right here. And I keep telling people, right here is going to be a teacher, a firefighter, a cop, a sheriff's deputy, all the folks that work in our community,
or a city employee.
It goes on and on.
Yeah.
So I'd say that housing and the labor workforce is another big challenge that we have. I mentioned already the mental health aspect, the behavioral health element. Those are the ones seem to be touching our families right in their home. that it's not roads, it's not streets, it's not water and sewer. All those are important too, but these are things that we're having to take care of our residents and make sure that they have a quality of life that everybody would like to enjoy. And it's not easy to do in a county that is constrained with land opportunity. So we're trying to bring different land use categories and land use opportunities to provide more density in some areas and a little more flexibility on what we allow in commercial retail areas. So it's just a lot of things that kind of work together to try to get that experience that everybody wants to have for their family.
Our chamber offers a We Mean Business. We go to the local
great.
businesses. I know, it's wonderful. And it's funny, we asked some of the employees that were there, what's one thing that you would like? And they're like, we're sick and tired of driving from Newport Richie to come to work. We want to live in somewhere in Oldsmar so we can just come to work. Yeah. So it is definitely an issue we need to
every employee that we have that lives up there, we're at risk for losing another employee because as soon as they find something up there, they're probably gone. And then it's going to cost us more money to develop more people. So it is an ongoing challenge. I don't know that there's any, one answer for all of it, but at least making people aware that when we come to a community near you with an development opportunity for attainable housing, don't look so negatively on it. It's an opportunity to let people live in our county that we need to provide the services that we've gotten used to. So
I agree.
Yeah, but it's not easy, and I understand that I have issues like that too that come up. So I know it's normal, but we just have to fight those tendencies a little bit.
Let's work together.
Yep. Amen.
So last thing I wanted to mention to you before I sign off here is the first time I met you was at the PSTU. You and I served together on the finance committee when I first, was that 2 years ago? And
I haven't been on it probably for 4 years now.
So
but
maybe it was that long.
So you've been there longer than you.
I forgot.
It's amazing how fast time goes, right?
But I remember you welcomed me in. I'll never forget the first meeting, and you said, "Hey, welcome, Councilmember Saracki from the city of Oldsmar." And I just want to thank you for that because you made me feel at home. And I know we have some different mix of feelings about the PSTA, but I really enjoy being on that. Yep. I love the employees there. I think it's a good organization. I think they're really trying to help our transportation needs. I think with the new Sunrunner, it's been very busy, and I think we're on the right track, but we still got a long way to go.
Yeah, we do. And listen, it's easy to critique, and I do that with PSTA sometimes. It's harder to come up with the answer, So I talk about Drew Street, and some people, it's a safety nightmare, and this is the professionals. DOT says this is our answer. People are criticizing it, and I said, well, do you recognize there's a safety issue? They say, yes. What's your solution? Because this is what the professionals said. So PSTA says this is their solution. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree. The idea of moving people around is really what it's all about, whether you are in need or of want, right? You don't have to need it. You can just leave your car at home and do it. So if we can figure out that model that works, and to me, it's not always about green technology. It's about how do we find a system that you and I want to use.
Exactly.
And it's not easy. And we've got some challenges, and buses are almost becoming passé now as we move forward into, with all technology and all the different things that are coming up. So it's going to be an interesting time and dynamic time. But that transit opportunity in the Bay Area is sitting there kind of like waving its hand because, the group over in Tampa is under scrutiny. HART is under scrutiny. So there might be some regional opportunity here. And again, I'm not quite sure what it looks like yet, but it's an important component, how to get people around.
Yep.
How to find them a place to live, and we've got places for them to work, whether it's in Tampa or here or whatever. But we want them living here and raising their families.
Exactly. So. And just real quick, two examples of the PST with you helping me is I knew nothing about transportation really until I got on that board. I went to Hawaii. My wife and I took the bus everywhere. I mean, anywhere we wanted to go, we hopped on the bus. We went to Poland, we hopped on the train, or we took the trolley, the system that was in downtown Krakow. Everything was transportation. We didn't need a car.
Right. The
only time I needed a car was when my family picked me up and took me back. So, and then the other thing I wanted to mention is the rail system. We have a relative who has a condo in Cocoa Beach. And that rail system is opening up. I saw yesterday in the paper, it's opening up next week or in 2 weeks in Orlando from Titusville. So, I mean, that's...
So there's pieces, and that little piece is supposed to be working its way to Tampa.
To the airport.
Yeah, so there's connectivity that's happening, and it's not bus.
Yeah.
But it is an avenue that we would use for some... If I go to South, I would love to be able to hop on a rail to get down to South, the south of the state, and not to have to drive down that whole way. But, those opportunities don't exist here in the Tampa Bay area. I'm not quite sure what the model is going to look like.
But we're
only at 1.5% of our riders that use transit in this county. So we've got work to do.
Right.
I'm not saying we haven't done good things. I just said we have work to do. So we'll see.
We're on the way, though.
Yeah.
We're on the way.
There you go.
And,
I like your optimism as well.
Yes, and the one thing I wanted to mention too is we stopped for gas. We were running out of gas to get to Cocoa Beach, and we were right next to the rail system. And the train, I mean, it literally flew by. I don't even know how fast, but I mean, it was flying, and it was coming from Fort Lauderdale on a test run to Titusville at the new train station. So I saw it in action, and I was really impressed.
Yeah, but and that's the good stuff. But if you want to get from Oldsmar to the beaches, or Oldsmar to my offices in downtown,
it's an hour drive.
Get a bus there. And that'll take you 2.5 hours. So we've got, again, good stuff. We got work to do.
Yeah.
And that's why people like yourself are on that board.
Yeah,
I
want to make a difference.
Yeah.
I'll be vice chair this year. Next year I'm going to be chair. So
God bless you, my friend.
I know. I'm ready to make some changes on that transportation. You guarantee. Yeah. Well, thank you, Commissioner Eggerts, for being my guest today.
The pleasure.
I'm very excited. To find out a list of podcast segments, visit experienceoldsmar.com. I'm your host, Oldsmar Mayor Dan Saracki. Until next time, I invite you to check out all the great things you can do to experience the top of the Bay of Oldsmar. What do you think of that new logo?
I love it. I love the logo. I love the tagline better. The logo's great, but the tagline is perfect.
And what is it?
Top of the Bay.
I know.
It's beautiful.
I know.
It fits in so many ways, right? I mean, it's just perfect.
Yeah, the sunsets in Ariel's Park with that little sun. It's just wonderful.
It's perfect.
I really appreciate you coming out, Dave.
Good to be here.
I think we had a great conversation.
Yeah, nice.
And I look forward to working with you in the future.
Sounds good, my friend. Thank you for inviting me.
You got it.
Bye.